Managed communications is the process of ensuring timely and appropriate collection, creation, distribution, storage, retrieval management, monitoring, and the ultimate disposition of project information. The key benefit of this process is that it enables an efficient and effective information flow between the project team and the stakeholders. This process is performed throughout the project. The managed communications process identifies all aspects of effective communication, including choice of appropriate technologies, methods, and techniques. In addition, it should allow for flexibility in the communications activities, allowing adjustments in the methods and techniques to accommodate the changing needs of stakeholders and the project. This process goes beyond the distribution of relevant information and seeks to ensure that the information being communicated to project stakeholders has been appropriately generated and formatted and received by the intended audience. It also provides opportunities for stakeholders to make requests for further information, clarification, and discussion. Techniques and considerations for effective communications management include sender-receiver models. This model incorporates feedback loops to provide opportunities for interaction or participation and remove barriers to effective communication. Choice of media. Decisions about application of communications artifacts to meet specific project needs, such as when to communicate in writing versus orally, when to prepare an informal memo versus a formal report, and when to use push-pull options, and the choice of appropriate technology. Writing style. Appropriate use of active versus passive voice, sentence structure, and word choice. Meeting management. Preparing an agenda, inviting essential participants, and ensuring they attend. Dealing with conflicts within the meeting or resulting from inadequate follow-up of minutes and actions or attendance of the wrong people. Presentations. Awareness of the impact of body language and design of visual aids. Facilitation. Building consensus and overcoming obstacles such as difficult group dynamics and maintaining interest and enthusiasm among group members. Active listening. Listening actively involves acknowledging, clarifying and confirming, understanding, and removing barriers that adversely affect comprehension. Project management plan components include Resource management plan. The resource management plan describes the communications that are needed for management of team or physical resources. Communications management plan. The communications management plan describes how project communications will be planned, structured, monitored, and controlled. Stakeholder engagement plan. The stakeholder engagement plan describes how stakeholders will be engaged through appropriate communication strategies. Project documents that can be considered as inputs for this process include change log. The change log is used to communicate changes and approved, deferred, and rejected change requests to the impacted stakeholders. Issue log. Information about issues is communicated to impacted stakeholders. Lessons learned register. Lessons learned earlier in the project with regard to managing communications can be applied to later phases in the project to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of communications and the communication process. Quality report. Information in the quality report includes quality issues, project and product improvements, and process improvements. This information is forwarded to those who can take corrective actions in order to achieve the project quality expectations. Risk report. The risk report presents information on sources of overall project risk, together with summary information on identified individual project risks. This information is communicated to risk owners and other impacted stakeholders. Stakeholder register. The stakeholder register identifies the individuals, groups, or organizations that will need various types of information. Work performance reports are circulated to the project stakeholders through this process as defined in the Communications Management Plan. Examples of work performance reports include status reports and progress reports. Work performance reports can contain earned value graphs and information, trend lines and forecasts, reserve burn-down charts, defect histograms, contract performance information, and risk summaries. They can be presented as dashboards, heat reports, stoplight charts, or other representations useful for creating awareness and generating decisions and actions. The enterprise environmental factors that can influence this process include organizational culture, political climate and governance framework, personnel administration policies, stakeholder risk thresholds, established communication channels, tools and systems, global, regional, or local trends and practices or habits, geographic distribution of facilities and resources. The organizational process assets that can influence this process include corporate policies and procedures for social media, ethics and security, corporate policies and procedures for issue risk, change, and data management, organizational communication requirements, standardized guidelines for development, exchange, storage, and retrieval of information, and historical information from previous projects, including the lessons learned repository.